themselves before would have expressed.
But just to extend what you just said, what is more important? Is the journey towards art more important, or is the destination?
Destination, both are important. But the example that I'm giving is sometimes, let's say, take the example of cricket. There might have been a talented person comes to play, and maybe on the way learning in gosh, and then suddenly you find a 2-year-old prodigy beginning to play like a master. Somewhere you feel, at least the Hindu way of looking at life with rebirth and all, that software is working somewhere in that baby's life. And so he's delivering it.
So interesting, yeah.
So just to add to that, what we were discussing, AI, what it produces is very bland and very average stuff. To do things that are brilliant, you need a human being there. Like Sir just said in cricket, I mean, AI may be able to play cricket, but then to create a helicopter shot, you need an MS Dhoni for that. So without humans, it is just average, very average.
So the rebuttal is due. Yes, sir.
Yeah, so if I can just further add to my comment. Yeah, I agree what Colonel Mohan just said, that you can access any amount of music and the way you want it. By the way, I'm also a very avid listener of classical music. But that apart, I think yet the individual's creativity, I mean, you would admire a singer like Bhimsen Joshi, or you would admire somebody. Now you will no longer admire any person, because whatever you want to hear, you can get it off the AI platforms. So that's what I mean to say, that the personal creativity, which brought some amount of standing in society to a person, that will no longer exist. That's my comment.
I think that's a very valid comment. Yeah, one last comment on this.
Yeah, so what I do agree with the gentleman on my left, because if you see, the word genius actually comes from the word genie, which is to say that genius is something which is supernatural. It is not something which is mundane, or it is not ordinary. What AI is giving at the end of the day is just, collating the data which is available, even if it is 10 raised to power 13, and it is giving you a different permutation combination with whatever internal networking that is okay. And that is why it is how the subconscious mind in psychiatry we are taught, or in psychology we are taught, that it works. So subconsciously, all this is happening, that is fine. But as when you think of something out of the box, or something which is absolutely new as a creator, and something which was not existing, let us say for example Einstein. Now, Einstein produced theory of relativity, which was nowhere there in the data of physics in his times. And he actually clicked that, the quantum physics today is understanding that theory of relativity. But it took him almost more than 20 years to come to a point to explain it to his colleagues. And that is why, in our medical science, sometimes we talk about Kekule's dream. That the structure of benzene he got in the dream. So something like these, which geniuses have produced, that I doubt whether AI will be able to give us. It is something supernatural, and as a part of that super conscious, I should say, which can only help us.
I think that's also a very valid point. We can move on and carry on this forever, but therefore I'll just request you to keep your comments and discussions after the session. We'll go on to the third speaker, but I think these are all very, very valid points, and we need to really introspect also at times that where AI will take us. Definitely there is a challenge. Definitely there is going to be a loss of creativity. There's also going to be an enhanced creativity because of people who can use AI better. There's no doubt in it. But definitely if you feel that it's going to really make creativity disappear, that's not the case. At the same time, I think it's going to suffer a hit. There's no doubt in it. To learn the rules of music and to learn music over the next for 20 years, and then being able to deliver using a keyboard, there's a huge difference. So we'll request the third speaker now to come and talk about, perhaps he'll touch on similar things. Parikshit, please come. So Parikshit is a pathologist and one of the few persons who's really dedicated himself to the cause of AI. And he really has a lot of passion and a lot of ideas, and someone who's been looking at every possible opportunity to really use data to a way where we can sort of change the way things work. So to that extent, I think that's the way we have to approach AI. And I'll request Parikshit to kindly talk about, he's talking about the ethics. Yeah. So Parikshit doesn't have a PowerPoint, I believe. So he's going to speak extempore. So what I'll suggest is, can you just switch over to my laptop?
Yes. Yeah, audible. Yeah.
So look at the creativity. As we were speaking and as we were talking, we've got a new backdrop for the stage. All AI generated in the last 20 minutes.
So may I start, sir? Thanks, sir. Okay, so I've been given the topic of pitfalls of AI. Since there's a panel discussion, so I'll continue with the thread. As you mentioned, sir, you like Raga Hamsadhvani. What is Raga Hamsadhvani? What is it? It's not just, sir, anyone who's interested in class. What is it? Okay, I mean, canonically, maybe if you see a textbook of Indian classical music, you'll find Raga Hamsadhvani is Saga Pada Ni Sa Ni Da Pa Ga Sa. Okay, this is fine. That's Raga Hamsadhvani as you in a note. It will be given in a book, you can play it in a piano. Are the notes the raga? Okay, so let me give you a very simple example. Let's not go into Hamsadhvani even. Let's go into this, what would call in Western music, this is called the major triad. Sa, ga, pa. And the minor triad is, just remember how you feel listening to this. Sa, ga, pa, the major triad. There's a certain feeling that it elicits inside you. Just keep that feeling at the back of your mind. And then there is just one notation changed. It becomes a minor triad. Sa, ga, pa. You feel something different? Sa, ga, pa. That's Komal ga, the minor triad. Anything different? Now, the feelings, the vibes that it gives you, a major triad and a minor triad, sa, ga, pa, these are completely different. There's a reason they're called the major and the minor triads. I can do Hamsadhvani like sa ga pa da ni sa ni da pa ga sa, or I can do sa ga pa ga sa ga pa ga da pa ni re sa ga re pa ni re sa. Now whatever combinations I make out of this, each of them would give you a different feeling. So the notations, they're not the raga. What is generated by AI, even in this image, this one, it's still just a set of pixels. AI doesn't have any context of what it's actually generating, which can be good or bad depending on how you look at it. Any Isaac Asimov fans out here? I guess there might be a few here. Anyone who's read the writings of Isaac Asimov? Isaac Asimov was one of the founding fathers of modern hard science fiction. So one of his stories, he mentions about a robot. This story is in the collection called I, Robot. And it was about a robot. The story is called Liar, if you have heard the story. Now, Asimov gave us the 3 laws of robotics, that one, a robot cannot harm a human being. That's the first law of robotics, harm a human being. Which means, obviously, Asimov meant physical harm. A robot should not turn on us. And that's the first kind of safety checkpoint that he wanted to ensure or enforce on robotics. So this robot in a factory, it turns out to be a pathetic liar. It was powered by a chatbot. It was a story from 1960s, so there were very few chatbots out then. Eliza was one of the earliest ones, but this one obviously had a good neural network at it, and it's a fictional robot. So it could converse, it could behave like any other robot, but the only defect in this particular robot was that it was a liar. It used to make up stuff, and not randomly make up stuff. It was a people pleaser. Now think of a people pleasing robot. If you imagine a people pleasing character that you might have seen and who's always, lying to you with a sweet tooth that everything about you is great and how everything is jolly around you, and it keeps on heaping praises on you. It's that kind of a robot. To the extent it would delude people out of their abilities and misguide them. And finally, the story creates a dilemma between the personal lives of two of the scientists who are attending the robots. And then someone was called to diagnose this robot, and this particular person was a robo-psychiatrist, Susan Calvin. So this robo-psychiatrist came and spoke with this robot for a while, and the robot also tried to misguide the robo-psychiatrist, like any patient would do to a psychiatrist. So finally, the reason that she found out that this behavior of this robot, this pathological lying, why was it? Can anyone guess what could be the reason? What was the defect? Pardon? Do no harm, not even emotionally. It took the meaning in a literal sense. This particular robot, do no harm, it was just applying the first law in a strictest sense. Not even a slight hurt to your self-esteem and ego. So do you think that kind of a robot would ever be able to handle a patient? Even if we make the best stuff, we have to put safeguards in our robots. Eventually, if AI models are put into robots and come into medical practice, but then what? Now, this is just one. I've made a few example cases of this kind of behavior. The second is there's a genuine risk that the information that comes out of a generative AI model is false. Because what is a generative AI model? This ChatGPT, I have never used it, but I've looked at its architecture. It's a transformer, and it's based on something called attention. If you have ever used autocomplete, has anyone ever been bitten by autocomplete? I guess everyone is at some point of their life. You want to type something else, a wrong message goes forwards, and then you don't know how to erase. Everyone? Autocomplete sufferers? So how do you think autocomplete works? Based on what you have typed before, it's trained on your vocab or on your particular phone, and it tries to autocomplete. Or if you haven't used that particular combination of letters before, it tries to fetch it from a reference dictionary. Now, autocomplete, you can think of ChatGPT as a massive autocomplete. The only purpose of ChatGPT, you can think of it as a function, is to predict the next word in a sequence. It's a machine which takes in an input a set of words and predicts the next word. Now, English is a funny language. Who said this? It was Amitabh Bachchan, right? English is a funny language. Because a certain word can have 3, 4, or even different meanings on what context it appears. And ChatGPT, these transformer models, they are kind of built on attention mechanism, which gives context to words. The entire sequence, not just the last word in a sequence, but the entire sequence is put in an attention block, so that every preceding words from the very beginning of that paragraph or from the very beginning of your chat in this particular session, they influence what the next word is going to come. Which means if this word appears in a different context, or even from a different person or a different session, the next word predicted is going to be different. Now, this is good for most use cases, except when they are critical. There was an example in very recent times about somebody asking ChatGPT that my pizzas, he was making pizzas, and the toppings on the pizza, they were not sticking to the pizza. You heard this incident?